pray without ceasing, Paul writes to the Christians in Thessalonica. To the Ephesians, he writes, in all your prayer and entreaty, keep praying in the Spirit on every possible occasion. Never get tired of staying awake to pray for all of God's holy people. Today in our gospel lesson, Jesus tells a parable about our need to pray always and not to lose heart. But the story he tells seems strange to us. We're not used to thinking about prayer in terms of always or continually. In fact, we're not much used to thinking about prayer at all. When our family lived in South Bend, there was a popular regional comedian by the name of Haywood Banks. His main shtick was writing humorous songs and performing them in humorous ways with electric guitar and various musical ensembles. Today's gospel made me think of one of his songs. Dearest Mr. Santa Claus, I'm writing you because there seems to be a problem with your staff. You may or may not be aware, or even worse, you do not care. At any rate, this is no cause to laugh. I gave it to my mother, a specific list of toys to bring around, but when I woke up Christmas morn, it was an obvious clerical error that I found. If you look on page number 22, under the heading of rocket packs, there's no way a personal jet propulsion device could ever be confused with a bunny puppet? Hello again, dear old St. Nick. I really hate to be a stickler, but it's clear from here that things must change. With software advances and the internet, you really can't delay in getting some elves that are more technically trained. I discussed this with my mother, along with a list of toys to bring around, but when I woke up Christmas morn, it was a hideous clerical error that I found. If you look on page number 29, under the heading of scuba gear, there's no way a personal deep water submarine could ever be confused with Uncle Wiggily. Hi again, St. Nicholas. I'm sorry that it's come to this, but something had to bring you up to speed. Perhaps your management skills are rusty, but you really have to trust me. You're not just meeting your customers' needs. I was told by my mother to let you know about this oversight, but I've been playing Uncle Wiggily with my bunny puppet, and I just didn't have time to write. This is more like the way we normally think of prayer, isn't it? 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times a year, we shoot up into the cosmos something that resembles a letter to Santa Claus. Of course, there's nothing wrong with asking God for things. In fact, he wants us to do it. Paul writes to the Philippians, do not worry about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. The Jerusalem Bible puts it this way, never worry about anything, but tell God all of your desires of every kind in prayer and petition, shot through with gratitude. Of course, it's different to just pray some kind of wish list than it is to go to God with a petition because we're genuinely concerned about something or someone. Perhaps we're deeply concerned about a loved one's health or about a family situation or about the safety of a friend. Surely God treats requests like these more seriously than frivolous Christmas wishes of self-centered children, doesn't he? How does prayer work, anyhow? What does prayer do? What should we expect from God when we pray? Will God not grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night? Jesus asks. And then something else that may give us a clue about how to think about this passage. He also asks, and yet when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Is prayer a dialogue of question and answer? We ask of God and God says okay or God says no. And if God says no, we're left wondering why. Was it something we said or did or didn't do? Is our timing off? Sometimes I suspect we go to our God with petitions that are so well thought out, so specific, that when we receive bunny puppets and Uncle Wiggly, we either assume that God got it wrong, or that God, who of course knows best, gave us the things that were best for us, even though we had not asked him for them. But I think we missed the whole point of Jesus' story, and the point of prayer in general, in fact, if we think that prayer is about getting stuff from God. So we are no better off if we think Jesus' story is merely about being incredibly persistent in order to get stuff from God. The persistent part may be right, but the question and answer part is wrong. When the Apostle Paul urges us to pray without ceasing, can we even imagine that we would be able to spend all of our time asking God for stuff, asking God for things, even if there are good things to ask for? Look at the Psalms. They let God in on every human emotion and struggle, everything that's known to us. But they are not constantly asking God for something, unless maybe that something is relationship. One day, 4 years ago, as I was doing chaplain work in a hospice, I came across a large family who had gathered to be there when the matriarch of their family passed away. Sister, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. She was all of those things. But now she laid in her bed, breathing heavily, actively dying. There were 8 people in the room, a brother, a daughter, and her husband, a son, some grandchildren, and a baby asleep in its mother's arms. This family had experienced all of life together, and now they were gathered to experience one more part of it. Over the course of the first day, we got to know each other. I would check in on them from time to time to see how things were going. We prayed together for many things, including healing. Although it seemed clear to all of us what kind of healing Grandma was about to experience. This family knew Jesus. They were not out of touch. They were sad about the circumstances that they faced, and they were sad that they were probably going to lose Grandma. But they were also obviously full of hope and buoyed up by faith. What gave these people hope? Was their hope based on the possibility that God might grant a request to stop the dread machine of death cold in its tracks, and that Grandma would suddenly sit up and ask them what they were all upset about? No. They were not hoping in specific outcomes. Their hope went deeper than outcomes. Way too often we simply hope Way too often we simplify hope to an idea of wishing for a particular outcome or result. I hope I get this promotion. I hope it doesn't rain before the big game. I hope the Johnsons can find a way to pay for their daughter's college. I hope this, I hope that. But this is not hope. This is wishing. There's a difference between hope and wishing. Wishing is based on outcomes. Hope is not. Hope remains steadfast regardless of how things turn out. My shift at the hospital came and went. Next morning, I checked in on my family again. Hope was still in the room. Nobody prayed that Grandma wouldn't die. Hope was not based on the possibility of her recovery. If hope was based on her recovery, then what questions might the family face when she did die? Did God stop caring? Was God mean? Did God stop listening because of something they did or did not do? That afternoon, their grandma did die. I walked in about 4 minutes after she had stopped struggling for breath, and her heart stopped and her eyes became distant. But hope was still in the room. This family was not defeated. They did not feel like they had lost a battle that they had been trying to win. They had been praying constantly, yes, but not to change the course of human history. Hope was intact because hope was bigger than death. Because hope continued after death. Hope and faith are not based on our trust that we will get answers from God. Hope and faith are rooted in the fact that God is with us. He is Emmanuel, God with us. He is with us in the midst, as we walk through things, as we pass through valleys, as we hike over mountaintops, when we are sad and feel like life has come to an end, and when we are on top of the world and feel like we have everything. God is with us. That's it. Circumstances change, outcomes will be good or bad, but God is with us through it all. And that never changes. The story Jesus tells us in today's gospel will throw us off if we think it's a story about how God works. Jesus is not saying that God is like a self-serving, unjust judge. No. Jesus just needed a character for his story. His story actually tells us what it is all about. It's in the first line and the last line of today's reading. It is about our need to pray always and not to lose heart. And that premise provides an answer for the question, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Well, if everybody is praying, of course there will be faith. When we pray, no matter the outcome, the act of our praying reminds us that God is right here with us, going through the same thing that we are going through. Our hope comes from his presence, not from some outcome. If we pray, when we pray, as we pray, we come to know. We don't come to know that God will give us what we think we want, but we come to know that God is there, that God is listening, that God cares deeply about us. We come to know God himself. And knowing God is a lot more important than knowing about God. Pray always and do not lose heart. It's not hard. All we have to do is include God in our inner conversation. He's already known what we're thinking, so we might as well invite him to listen to it. You know how when you have little children, you usually know what they are doing anyhow, but it always feels so much better when they come and tell you everything that you know already? That's how it works. Faith and hope spring from relationship with God. So pray always. And when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Yes, he will. Yes, he will. He will find it